Bus travel. This is a little tip and advice around bus travel. So, as a person who's blind, when I'm out, I know that the bus is either like depending where I am, like it could be a specific bus stop with a sign, or it could be a corner. Knowing that is important, and finding the right spot and knowing the timing and everything, and that takes some research. So you should be researching your buses and how the system works. And sometimes they get annoyed when you call and ask all this information, but it's their job, so suck it up. But you can find some of this information online, but a lot of it's helpful to have the interaction with someone. So I make sure I find where my bus stop is. I make sure I recognize that, and get there early, like 10 minutes before my bus. And I go out there and I seem eager. I mentioned this in another video talking about funny stories about dating via the bus. But yeah, like showing that you're eager to, not everyone is on the side of the road trying to get on the bus, I guess. So the bus doesn't always stop. So it might drive past if it doesn't seem like you're taking the bus. So I'm up there by the curb, like seeming eager, like I want to get on this bus. And then the bus pulls up. Now, there could be many buses that pull up, and you don't want to ask them yes or no, because sometimes it's hard to hear. You could say, which bus is this, to get them to answer with a number, or you could say, have your number, and say that. And sometimes I'll even hold up number of fingers if I can, but once you get to 17 or above 10, it gets a little difficult. So, and typically they are higher numbers than that. So, but some people have used pieces of paper. I've even used pieces of paper because the buses will drive past me. In Huntington, West Virginia, I would hold up the piece of paper, and with the bus number on it, and the right bus would stop, because often one bus will pull up and then the other bus that I needed would pass, and then that bus would try to go catch up to that bus to get me on that bus. And I'm like, really? So I started holding up the paper. They're like, that's not necessary, but then they would drive past me. So that was quite helpful, and that the buses stopped at like any corner in Huntington versus that's on the route versus specific stops. So that was, yeah, I think it's harder on the bus driver in some ways, easier on the pedestrian for sure. And they had a decent bus system. So I have used a piece of paper with the number printed on there in large print. I've also, so once I get on the bus, I'm like feeling for the gap again, curb, or if I have to step out into the street, and then up into the bus where the step is, and then feel for the steps, find a railing, go up, and you have to put in your card or your cash, and some of them are now like tap too, but making sure I'm able to do that, and I practice it. So the first time is always the hardest, but then you learn and you're prepared. And I try to sit opposite where the driver is, and I would be in a car like the passenger side versus the driver side, so that he can see me easily through the mirror or over his shoulder, basically. And I keep my cane out so it's visible if I can, or if well, I always can. If I try to sit on that side if I can, and so I'm visible, and I tell him what stop I'm going to. And I try to learn the route, but I can also use my phone to follow the bus route. Sometimes that takes a little time though, so making sure that they know, and I may even start to learn the turns on the bus route, and I'll remind the driver. They say, "Oh, you don't need to remind me," after you've done it a while, but then they forget you, so they drop you off. So I keep reminding them, and I rather remind them and not miss my bus stop than have to walk back a distance or whatever. And exiting the bus, you go to the front, you grab the little railing thing, or you feel for the steps, and you go down the steps, and you feel when you're getting out the bottom step. It could be the curb onto the curb, or it could be like in between the curb, so you don't want to twist your ankle or anything. Or so make sure you realize where you're stepping and use your cane properly, and then make sure there's no poles in front of you or anything like that. And and know whether you're in the street or in the sidewalk is important. So, um, yep. So, and you can ask the bus driver a question, or are we by this, whatever, to make sure like you know what location you're being dropped off at. Okay. So that's just another trip about bus travel. Um, cool. And if you're on the bus for a long time, like riding on the bus, you might want to seem like you're busy. I know some people who are blind who take out a book, literally, and hold the book up like they're reading. That's kind of funny. But you could put in earphones. You could do whatever, or they don't even have to be plugged in or be turned. Your device doesn't have to be turned on. I don't know. It depends where you are. I haven't had that issue. I've had a lot of funny stories about people fighting on the bus and other things happening on the bus, or people smoking stuff on the bus, or nothing terrible. So maybe I'll put those stories in another video.